Victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win. From Sun Tzu, The Art of War. That is one of the opening lines in this book, The Confident Mind by Nate Zinsser. And if you're looking for ways to build confidence in yourself, or perhaps to help build confidence in the people that you manage, the people you coach, the kids that you're raising, well, there are some really powerful nuggets in this book that I believe you will find valuable and useful. And that's why I'm sharing it with you today in this bonus episode of the Uplevel Dairy Podcast. The key takeaways and cliff notes from the book, The Confident Mind by Nate Zinsser. Now, this book was suggested to me by Clare Alderink. He really found value in it as he prepared for his marathons. And if you listen to one of the episodes we redropped this week on Mastering a Marathon Mindset, you'll hear Clare talk about this book and how it helped him as a dairy manager and a marathon runner. And because of that, I picked up this book and not only found that it helped me personally, but it has been an excellent teaching tool as a marathon runner myself, as a mom, as a coach in my favorite competitive sport, Dairy Quiz Bowl. And so I'm going to take a minute and introduce you to this book and the author. Dr. Nate Zinsser has spent his career training the minds of the U.S. Military Academy's cadets as they prepare to lead and perform when the stakes are the very highest on the battlefield. Alongside his work, he has coached world-class athletes, including a Super Bowl MVP, numerous Olympic medalists, professional ballerinas, NHL All-Stars, and college All-Americans, teaching them to overcome pressure and to succeed on the biggest stages. Dr. Zinsser has come to understand that one simple, singular trait above all others makes peak performance possible, and it's confidence, or the belief in oneself. Whether your mission involves leading a platoon into combat, returning an opponent's serve, or delivering a sales pitch to a room full of skeptical prospects, you perform best when you are so certain about your abilities that your flow of fear, doubts, and confusion slows to the barest minimum. Dr. Nate Zinsser has come to understand that confidence is a skill that can be taught, improved, and applied by anyone to enhance every aspect of our lives and careers. And that's what I'm going to be sharing with you today. My 5 hot takes from this book, The Confident Mind by Nate Zinsser, a battle-tested guide to unshakable performance. Hot take number 1. It begins in your mind, seeing yourself doing the thing that you want to do. In fact, professional athletes do this all the time, where they sit down and they spend time seeing themselves performing, envisioning what they want to do, how they want to achieve, how they want to succeed. And I'm no professional athlete, but I have practiced this as a runner. And when I'm running, one thing that I do is I'll look at my phone. And when I'm looking at that goal pace as I'm running along, I won't just see the number in front of me. I see the goal pace that I want to achieve on race day. I've gone as far as even printing it out and putting it on my bulletin board to just really make it seem real. And that skill of beginning in your mind, it's envisioning, it's being able to sit down and be quiet enough with yourself to engage in what it's like to be in that moment. Now, the skill of envisioning doesn't always come easy. It did not come easy for me because it actually requires you to sit down and be quiet with yourself. And that can be really hard for a lot of us, but it can be practiced and it can be taught. I've taught it to myself. And in fact, this is something I do before any speaking engagement I might have. I sit down, I close my eyes, I see myself at the front of the room. I think about the way that I want to feel. I think about the way I want people in the room to feel. And so then by the time I get there, it's like I've already been there. And this is a skill that I have passed on to the young kids that I coach with Dairy Quiz Bowl. And so I have a team that we were able to have an awesome win at our Wisconsin state competition, go to nationals this year. And something that I made them do was before our final competition at the state contest, we had an opportunity when the room for the finals where that would be performed was empty. I made them walk up on the stage so that they could feel what it was going to be like when they were going to be performing at their peak. And the whole purpose there was to make them really feel like they'd already been there, so that when the time came and when the game day time came around, that they would feel like they'd already been there and that would not be a block to them being able to access their best performance. Now, these kids thought I was probably a little bit crazy that I drug them up on this stage, but I said, you've got 2 options. This might feel uncomfortable and awkward now, And you can feel it now when no one's in the room, or you can feel it later when you are competing and looking at a room full of people and crowds, and the crowd staring right back at you. And so this has been a powerful tool that I've passed on to the kids that I coach, that I use every day. It begins in your mind, envisioning, and also taking the time to just sit and to see it and engage with all of your senses. How does it look? How does it feel? What do you smell? What do you see? And how does the room feel? And those little things for envisioning the outcome can make all the difference in being able to calm your mind and your body for peak performance. Okay, hot take number 2. This is all about shifting language. So, for example, I'm going to use the example of my kids that we show cattle. And I caught myself many times saying, we got to get out there and we got to lead these calves and we got to do it for so long and we got to go so far. And one of the shifts that I learned from the confident mind was to change that language. So instead of saying, I have to do this, to change it to saying, how great can we do? And for me as a mom to say that to my boys, the switch that it flipped for them was, instead of feeling like it was a forced task, it started to shape how they could view this as a challenge to themselves, not just to please their mom, but as a challenge to themselves to perform at their best and to have some excitement and curiosity about that. Now, same thing with my kids that I coach in Dairy Bowl. So one thing that I started doing with our team when we were doing our practices was I started tracking down their correct answers that they were able to achieve as a team. And starting the practices by saying, how great can we do today? Let's set a goal. How many right answers can we get? And that leads in to hot take number 3, building your mental bank account. And so in the Confident Mind, they talk about these deposits, listing your deposits, your ESPs. And these are your engaging memories that signify an effort you made, a success you had, and a progress that you made. And it's so important to not just think about these things, but also to write them down and reflect on them. And so I'll use the example again of coaching my team of Dairy Bowl kids. And so what we did at one of our practices was we started to make a list as a team of our ESPs, our positive, encouraging memories. And we tapped back into, remember that time when we had 100 correct answers. And then the next time we had 150 at practice. And that was one of their ESPs. And so we made this list, and they made the list of their positive and encouraging memories. And what that was doing was building their mental bank account so that they would have these deposits that they could tap back into consciously and subconsciously when performance time came around. And so the way that we utilize this as a team was to write it down and reflect on it. But the way that you can also utilize it is to reflect on those things at the end of every day. So you're measuring not just success, but also the best efforts and the progress that's made. And that is how we build our mental bank account. Hot take number 4 from the Confident Mind was developing a pre-performance routine. And now when we talk about pre-performance routine, this isn't like superstition, lucky socks. This is like an actual approach to help to cue your mind and your body for peak performance. So what does that look like? Well, in this book, Zinsser breaks it down into 3 steps. Number 1, cue your conviction. So this is like a personal prompt for performance that ties you to the process for success. And so it might be like a mantra. It might be like something, some little song that you listen to. And so again, in the case of my kids that I coach in Dairy Bowl, we came up with it as a team with our own little mantra to cue our conviction. And the phrase that we repeated to ourselves was on the edge of your seat. And what did that mean? It was attached to the process of success, not just the result of it. And it was a reminder that when we are in our best mode as a team and when we're most engaged and focused in competition, that we are on the edge of our seats. But also when we're on the edge of our seats, we are professional, we are all in, we are 100% there, and we have shown up. And so that was that number one step for the pre-performance routine was cueing your conviction and coming up with some little mantra, some little phrase where when you say it, it snaps you into that mode that it's time to perform. Step number 2 in the pre-performance routine, breathe into your body. And here is what Zinsser says in the book about the power of breath. It brings your focus into the present moment. When you breathe purposefully and properly, you bring yourself back from both the past and the future and right into the now. It helps release negativity and self-doubt. A proper breath lets you blow off a momentary setback or an episode of simple human imperfection. It brings up your physical energy level. Inhaling fully brings vital oxygen into the bloodstream, and a powerful exhale drives out the carbon dioxide that is promoting the buildup of lactic acid. It reduces the contents of the mind from a crowded jumble of a dozen and 100 competing thoughts down to a sense of a unified purpose. And it creates a sense of personal control in difficult situations. When you breathe purposefully and properly, you are in control of the situation and not the score, the opponent, or the game conditions. And that is the power of the breath. The power of breathing is about our physical and our mental, and that all goes back to step number 2 of pre-performance routine. And step number 3 in that pre-performance routine is about attaching your attention. You see, the first 2 steps have now allowed you to separate your mind chatter and essentially get out of your own head, and now it's time to shift your focus back to the task at hand. And that comes with allowing yourself to be fascinated and curious about what you're doing. Because odds are, if you're performing, it's something that you fell in love with in the first place. And it reminds me of something that a guest on my podcast said several months back. That was Jessica Prowley-Trimner when she talked about her one word for 2024. And she shared this little nugget of advice that it came from her mom, Pam Prowley. And it was this: don't forget what it's like to play on an empty court as if no one's watching. And Jess was a big basketball player, so this was a relevant tip for her. And it just really exemplifies that power of taking that little bit of time to be fascinated and curious by what you're doing, to step away from the competition and the performance, and to just be engaged and engulfed in it. And so these 3 steps in pre-performance are what Zinsser calls the CBAs. C, cue your conviction. B, breathe into your body. And A, attach your attention. And this is what he says about keeping this routine when you're under pressure. He says CBA is a simple concept, but it can work for you even in the heat and the pressure of your toughest and most demanding moments. The key to making it work for you is simply knowing that of all the choices you can make in the moments of truth that you face, the choice to act with a confident mind, a relaxed and energized body, and focused senses always gives you the best chance of doing well. The more your performance matters, the more important it is for you to free yourself from worry, doubt, fear, and anything else that might interfere with the delivery of giving the best you've got. Now, this brings us to hot take number 5, and this is reframing performance anxiety. Now, sometimes I think that in our society, we have taken anything that feels uncomfortable or makes us a little bit nervous and started to put it in a box, and that says that it's bad. And now, sometimes anxiety can be debilitating and can be extremely serious, but sometimes it's a level of discomfort that we are just on the other side of that discomfort is the breakthrough. And what Zinsser talks about is that performance anxiety and nerves are actually our body's way of showing up and telling us that we are ready to take our performance to a new level. This is talking about the racing heart, the sweaty palms, the butterflies in the stomach. And you might be wondering, why would our nervous system ramp up like this? Well, Zinsser says the answer is simple. Whenever you're about to do something that matters to you, whether it's something you must do or something you want to do, your autonomic nervous system, the part of your biology that keeps your heart pumping, your lungs breathing, and your digestion all working without any conscious effort on your part, does a few things to help you out. The end results are all of those physical feelings that might be framed as anxiety, but this is where I'm pushing you to reframe, because this is actually the gift of adrenaline. If you are experiencing any of these signals, it means your body is doing something to help you do something that matters to you. And so here's the reframe, my friend. How about accepting the fact that being nervous really means you're getting ready to be at your best? How about changing your narrative about it and deciding to be comfortable when you're nervous? And these have been some of the major takeaways that I have walked away with from the confident mind that have helped me in the way that I train myself for running, for doing what I do. It's the way that I've started to shift some of the conversations I have with my children, with the kids that I coach in Dairy Quiz Bowl. And I hope that you were able to grab a few things from these hot takes from the confident mind as well. And once again, those top 5 things that I walked away with were this. It begins in your mind, that power of envisioning and seeing yourself doing the thing that you want to do, and just being able to feel like you're already there doing it. Number 2 was to swap out the I have to for the how great can we do conversation. Number 3, building your mental bank account with those ESPs, those energizing and encouraging memories about the efforts, success, and progress that you've made. And number 4, developing a pre-performance routine with cue your conviction, breathe into your body, attach your attention. And number 5, reframing performance anxiety and learning how to embrace the discomfort as your body's signal that you're getting ready to perform at your best. So I hope you've taken a few things away like I have from The Confident Mind by Nate Zinsser, a battle-tested guide to unshakable performance. And if you like this episode, it's a little different than my normal ones, but if you like this and you like these book reviews, shoot me a note, send me a DM to Uplevel Dairy on Instagram, on Facebook, or an email to peggy@upleveldairy.com. I'm Peggy Coffeen, and thanks for listening to the Uplevel Dairy Podcast.